Please stay. Oh my god, this is so unstable. Okay, better. Hi, hello, welcome back. And for today's video, it's going to be a spring bookish reset video. The spring weather is here, and I have a lot of bookish things to do. I recently bought quite a few new books as retail therapy because I was pretty sad and pretty stressed, and I just needed new books in my life to bring me some sort of joy. Hence, all the new books that I'm going to show you in a few seconds. And since I have gotten all these new books, I need to reorganize my bookshelf because I gotta find new places for all these new books. And I have like my special editions bookshelf. Basically, it's just my singular bookshelf that I have that I like to put pretty books on for full display. And I want to completely redo that because I just am not liking how it currently looks. So let's see if I can make it better by reorganizing it. But I don't know how that is going to go because I feel like one, I need more books for that bookshelf to make it look like full. And I don't think I have enough books for that yet. And two, I need more like knickknack decor items, which I also don't have yet. I don't think I'm gonna fully love how it turns out, but let's see if I can make it look better for free right now. Anyways, let's get into all the new books that I got because I got quite a few. The first three books being This Woven Kingdom series. This is a young adult fantasy romance romantasy book series. I got the first three books, This Woven Kingdom, These Infinite Threads, and All This Twisted Glory. These are the books that have been released so far for this series. And the reason why I got this series is one, I really enjoyed This Woven Kingdom when I read it through my library. And two, I also borrowed and am currently reading These Infinite Threads. And initially I borrowed it from my library and I was kind of dumb because I did not put my Kindle into airplane mode when I was reading the digital book of These Infinite Threads. When my library hold expired for that book, it disappeared from my Kindle. And if I wanted to reborrow the book, I would have to wait like an additional 16 weeks to read it again. And I'm not willing to do that because I've been really enjoying These Infinite Threads so far. So I just decided to treat myself to all the books that have been released so far with this series because I have been really enjoying it. But like I said, I'm currently reading These Infinite Threads. I'm really enjoying this book. It is so entertaining. I can't tell you why because it would be massive spoilers for the first book, but just know I'm having a good time reading this right now. Hence why I needed to have a physical copy in my hands so I could continue on reading it. I got the paperback edition of Funny Story. I have the hardback edition of this book. I bought it last year when this book was released in April, and yeah, that was really exciting. I bought that hardback edition on release day. I started reading it on release day. So it was very exciting, very anticipated read for me, and I loved Funny Story. So I knew when the paperback edition of this got released, I needed to get it. Also, the spine is really cute. It's like this purpley pink color with lemons on it. So I needed it. Also, I have all of her other contemporary romances paperback editions, and I need to complete my collection of them. It's kind of funny story, but it's kind of funny because when I got this book and it arrived in the mail, my boyfriend picked it up and then grabbed the hardback edition of Funny Story off my bookshelf and held them both up side by side and was like, "What is this?" Which is a little bit rude in my opinion, but yeah, he just doesn't get it that I need both. Then I got the Dance of Thieves duology. I read this duology on my Kindle through Kindle Unlimited, so I technically don't have the books anymore because I returned them back to Kindle Unlimited, but I really enjoyed the duology, so I wanted physical copies of it. But this is a young adult fantasy duology, and I also have the physical copies of the original series that the Dance of Thieves duology is based off of, so I just wanted the complete collection, the complete universe of those series. Then I got Some Shall Break. This is a YA mystery thriller. It's basically Silence of the Lambs meets Criminal Minds with also a dash of the Natural series by Jennifer Lynn Barnes all mixed together. And it's also set in the 80s, which is fun. But this is book 2. I read the first book, None Shall Sleep. I've really been enjoying the series so far. So I wanted a physical copy of the book. And I believe the third book is called Some Shall Mourn, but don't quote me on that. That got released in February, so I do need to get my hands on that because I really want to read it because I've been really enjoying the series so far. And the last 3 books that I got, these are hard to hold up with one hand. I feel like this looks really weird. I'm gonna hold it up individually because this hurts my hand and my wrist. But I got the hardback of the Belladonna series purely because underneath the dust jackets, this is what the hardbacks look like, and they're just stunning. I originally wasn't going to get the hardback editions of the Belladonna series because I had the first book, Belladonna, in paperback, so I was going to get all the paperback editions of this series, but then I saw that the hardback box set had a really good deal. All 3 of these were $35, so I needed to get my hands on it because they're just stunning. But yeah, those are all the new books that I got. I got quite a few and they were all very needed. But since I have all these new books, let's go reorganize my bookshelf because I got quite a few new books to add in. This is my final organization so far. This is what my Emily Henry bookshelf is looking like. It houses all of her contemporary romance books that I have. And you can't tell me that I didn't need the Funny Story paperback because it looks so good right there. Then I kind of rearranged these 2 fantasy shelves of mine This one houses most of my Stephanie Garber books, and I do have my holiday collection of Caraval here right now because I had it on my other bookshelf on full display for the holidays, but now that the holidays are over, I'm putting it back on the regular bookshelf. Anyways, I just rearranged some of the books that I had in this pile and put it down into this shelf because I wanted this specific book stack to be all of the standalone fantasy-esque books that I own. And down here, I added in my Dance of Thieves duology and this Woven Kingdom series. This is where the majority of my paperback fantasy series are. And then this stack is more fantasy-esque magical realism books that I own that are either part of a series and I don't own the complete series yet, or I just have multiple books of the same author. For example, Adrienne Young. The Unmaking of June Farrow and Spells for Forgetting are not part of a series, but the same author. And then I added Some Shall Break in my mystery thrillers section right next to None Shall Sleep. That's what my bookshelf is looking like so far. And then onto my special edition bookshelf. This is what I organized it to be so far. I'm not like fully set on it, but I think I like it better. I don't know. I have all of the Belladonna series hardbacks displayed, even though these technically aren't special editions. These are just the regular hardbacks of the series. I feel like they look like special editions because they are gorgeous. And then I have more special editions like the LitJoy special edition of Heartless, the Barnes & Noble exclusive editions of the Stolen Air duology, the special edition of A Study in Drowning, and then another special edition of A Study in Drowning. I think this is the Owl Crate edition. I'm not exactly sure. I don't really remember. This was a half-price books find. Then I have my hardbacks of Once Upon a Broken Heart trilogy. Once again, technically not special editions, but A Curse for True Love and Once Upon a Broken Heart are technically like the special releases of the hardbacks because underneath the dust jacket it has a foil design. Then I have the Once Upon a Broken Heart paperback trilogy Barnes & Noble exclusive editions. I'm just waiting for A Curse for True Love to be released. And then I have my special edition of Caraval and then the Ballad of the Archer and the Fox Barnes & Noble exclusive edition of the hardback. Well, technically this is not the name of the book. It is A Curse for True Love, but I got this one because it says The Ballad of the Archer and the Fox on the front, which is a mythical tale in the series. And then my top shelf pretty much just stays the same. I have my special edition of Emma, Persuasion, Jane Eyre, and the cloth-bound editions of the Bronte sisters books. Like I said, I think I like it how it looks right now. Not completely sold on how it looks. I feel like I just need more decor to really zhuzh it up. I'm planning on just like thrifting a lot of that. So it's just gonna take me time to gather up decor. Hello. It's actually been a couple of days since that last clip that you saw of me organizing my bookshelves because life got in the way. I thought I would chat about what I just finished, what I'm currently reading, and books that are going to be on my TBR for the rest of March and probably April as well. I don't really set monthly TBRs, but since I do borrow books from my library pretty consistently, that kind of determines the book that I'm going to be reading. Anyways, let's talk about what I recently have finished, which was These Infinite Threads, book 2 of this Woven Kingdom series, and I actually really enjoyed this book. This book is the epitome of no plot, just vibes, but I actually really loved the vibes. What I appreciated about These Infinite Threads is that it immediately picked up where the first book ended, so I was just very excited to jump back into this book and see what happened because there was an insane cliffhanger for This Woven Kingdom, the first book. I will say a common complaint or critique I've seen of these Infinite Threads is that it feels like a filler book, and I do kind of agree with that just because after I finished the book, I was like, I feel like not a whole lot changed in terms of the plot and character development, but it was more just a continuation of what happened at the end of the first book, if that makes sense. I have to be pretty vague because I don't want to like spoil anything. I do agree that it feels a bit like a filler. However, I still really enjoyed it. I enjoyed the introduction of certain characters. It was very entertaining to read. I ended up giving it 4 stars. I'm excited to read the third book, but also not excited to read the third book because the fourth book isn't out yet, I don't think. And that just means once I'm done with the third book, I won't have another book in the series to pick up because it hasn't been released yet. And then in terms of what I'm reading right now, I'm actually reading it on my Kindle. It's Wildside by Elsie Silver. This is book 3 in the Rose Hill series. This just got released in March, and I feel like Wildside has definitely been a fan favorite of everyone who has read the series or has read all of Elsie Silver books before. I've seen really great reviews about Wildside. Granted, I'm only like 41% through the book so far, so I have about 60% left to finish. But I don't think this is gonna be my favorite Elsie Silver book. I don't know, just something about the MMC, and sometimes when he says things, I'm like, ugh. But it kind of makes sense in terms of the plot and what things are happening in the book, but still just makes me like roll my eyes. Maybe I'll have a big shift in my opinion for the latter 2/3 of the book, but we shall see. Right now, it's gearing up to be not my favorite Elsie Silver book. I'm still enjoying it, but it's not my favorite one. And I feel like everyone who has read this book so far or read an arc of it said it's their favorite book of Elsie Silver of all time. And I just don't feel that for me right now. Then in terms of what I'm going to be reading in March and or April, one of those is Leather and Lark. This is book 2 of the Ruinous Love trilogy, the first book being Butcher and Blackbird. I don't think I have talked about Butcher and Blackbird on my channel yet. No, I did. I did during my February reading wrap up. So if you saw that, then you know my thoughts about Butcher and Blackbird. But I, oddly enough, found it to be really fun. I gave the first book 3.5 stars. At times it was like really cringy, but then at other times it was really fun. So I don't know. I just had interesting feelings about that book. So I do want to read the second book, Leather and Lark. I also have A Forgery of Roses to read, which I have heard nobody talk about before. I just found it through the Libby app and it sounded really interesting. Basically, based on the plot of the book, it reminds me of Belladonna because it's this fantasy romance romantasy that also has like a murder mystery plotline. So I'm very excited to read it because it sounds like it's going to be good, and I feel like it's always exciting to find a book that you never really heard other people talk about and you end up loving it or really liking it. That is always exciting. Another book that I currently borrowing from my library is Daydream, which I'm reading this with a friend of mine. We have both read the first 2 books in this series, which is Icebreaker and Wildfire, I believe. I did not like either of the books. I'm just really not a fan of the writing style and the characters that were in the first 2 books. I just found them to be really annoying. Me and my friend, we read Wildfire together and both didn't like it, and we decided that we're both going to read Daydream together and finish out the series so that we can be done with it. But I don't know, even though I didn't really like the first 2 books, I am still like kinda hopeful about Daydream just because it does deal with different characters, so maybe they will be better and maybe they will act better. We shall see. And then the last book that I'm currently borrowing from my library is 7 Days in June, which is a romance book, but it seems like the type of romance book where it's more than just the romance itself. It deals with other things too. It's a second chance romance. Seems like it's going to have discussions about creative life in America and also motherhood. That book has been on my TBR for a while now, but I am excited to read it and see how I end up liking it. Anyways, that concludes this bookish spring reset. I hope you enjoyed it, and if you made it this far, thank you so much for watching, and until next time, I'll see you later.